Hello, this is Hybrid here, and I am back with another Golden Treasure the Great Green secret ending speedrun. I'm making this video for two reasons. First reason is that there are some routing changes compared to my last video, so we're looking at hopefully getting under 1 hour 15 minutes with this run. Second reason is to use this as a submission video for any future speedrun events I might like to attend. So I'm going to give commentary with a mixture of the story, as though you have not seen this game before, as well as talking a little bit about the speedrun mechanics and the research that has gone into it. So I will explain as I go, so let's go ahead and get started with a new life in 3, 2, 1, go. So in this game, you play as a dragon from inside of its egg all the way to young adulthood. The setting is a science fantasy version of Bronze Age Earth. This game is a mix of interactive fiction, RPG, and adventure. Interactive fiction in the sense that most of what I'm doing is clicking text options down in the bottom portion of the screen. RPG because you do have stats based on the 4 classical elements that represent your physical abilities, as well as turn-based combat that uses those stats, and adventure in the sense of collecting items and using them in certain places. So we are inside of our egg here and being given telepathic communication by our birther creator, or mother, about what it means to be a dragon, or as they are known in this world, Drakkin, or Drak for short. So if I ever say Drak, that means dragon. As far as speedrunning goes, the main thing I'd like to do throughout the speedrun is select the topmost text option whenever that is the best option, because it does load in first. It is clickable first compared to the other options. So every time you click a top option, that's going to save you a few frames. Now, of course, sometimes the lower options will be required in order to continue. They might be mandatory, in which case we have to click those. We don't really have a choice. Like down here, I'm going to click the 4th. That actually is the fastest, because it does not give you any stat gains, so there's no pause. So we find ourselves in this cave, we've hatched out of our egg, and we come to this cliff, and we are going to jump off the cliff. Whee! Well, that didn't work too well, but it did give us our first achievement, or tarot card. We need to collect 20 of these in order to unlock the secret ending. You get tarot cards for completing major side quests and for finding secrets and certain items. So we come down to this bird who's making fun of us. He's like, haha, you can't fly. And I say, dude, I'm 5 minutes old. Give me a break. So we come over here and we find that our dear birther creator, who taught us so much, has been slain by these strange creatures. Obviously we need some revenge. We seem to have taken an arrow to the chest, but no problem. Let's just keep fighting and, well, we're dead. Well, no problem. This is a roguelite game. You only have one save game, and it rewrites itself, but you have 3 lives. So we just used up one of our lives there, no big deal. So we get sent back just a little bit to where our birther creator has been slain by these very strange creatures. Obviously, we need some revenge. We seem to have taken an arrow to the chest, but no problem. Let's just keep fighting, and we're dead again. This is a little bit concerning. We are so early in the speedrun, and already we have lost 2 lives. Does not leave much room for error. But no problem, let's just try this again. So we come to where our dear birther creator has been slain by these very strange creatures. Obviously we need some revenge. We seem to have taken an arrow to the chest, but no problem, let's just keep fighting, and we're dead again. Obviously I'm doing this on purpose. You do get an achievement for dying, and this is the most convenient place to get it by far. Ordinarily, the most common place to die is simply in combat. Those are all going to take a little while to get to, and then you'd have to sit there taking attacks. There are other insta-deaths. They're buried pretty deep into the game. This one is extremely convenient. Also, normally when you die, you get sent back to the whole previous day, and it gives you this little speech about how what you saw was a dream. It skips the speech when you die right there, so it's altogether really convenient, and we're just going to get to redo our stats. So we need 15 fire, 13 water, and the rest into earth. Okay, pretty good. There is also an achievement for going from hatching out of your egg to the ending sequence, making it to the ending sequence all in one continuous life. And this counts, starting from right here. You don't have to start from the prologue, you can start from the hatching, and that is okay for that achievement. So it altogether works out pretty well, despite the inherent inconvenience of having to die in the first place. So we're back in this cave. We didn't go back too far. And we go towards the light. And we come to the cliff, and we can jump off the cliff or climb down. I'm going to climb down safely this time. It is slightly faster, and it also gives me earth and water, which I am set up for. We come down to this jerkbird who's like, haha, you climb down a cliff. And I say, dude, I just cannot win with you, can I? But we get it to divulge a secret that inside the mouth of our birther creator is a special treasure, a crystal fang, that will come in handy in a little bit here. So we sneak forward and look closely, and we find this crystal fang, and I'm just going to keep clicking down here. That is okay. So this was a discovery I made several weeks ago. The game has been out for almost a year now, but just a few weeks ago, I discovered that whenever an item is popping up, but you have more text to click through, you can just ignore what the item is doing and just keep clicking the text, and that is okay. So we come over here, it starts to rain, we're a little bit bummed out. One of our parents is dead, it's our first day of life, a little sad. And it explains a little bit about our stats and the user interface. So your stats are based on the 4 classical elements of fire, water, earth, and air. Fire for strength, water for empathy and stealth, earth for durability and health and defense, and air for intelligence and speed. So we go out and we look at the stars and we sing a song to fire, which gives me 5 fire points. And we have some bad dreams, and it asks if we want to do the combat tutorial or not. We definitely want to skip that, otherwise it takes like 5 minutes, which would be pretty bad. So we come out to investigate something strange, and we see the Dragon Paragon of Wisdom, Darktooth. And he tells us a little bit more about what it means to be a dragon. He also gives us our first major quest of the game to head to the northeast to the Spirit Wood, the sort of heart and soul of the forest. And he tells us to go claim the Spirit Wood as our territory. However, we do have a little bit of time to explore the immediate area before the humans find us, and they do not like us very much. So the first order of business here is that our energy is a little bit on the low side. My energy is a sort of chain or double helix at the bottom portion of the screen. Now, normally to recover energy, you go to hunting grounds where you hunt down animals and you chase them and you fight them, and it's a lot of great fun. But we want to get energy from events, such as this event, where some children are playing, so we ambush one of them and eat them alive and steal its necklace. Because dragon. Just in case it's not clear, up to this point, you are playing as a dragon in this game, and you are not only able to do things like that, you are expected to. Good times. So we come over here to where these people are digging clay out of the side of a hill, and through some very cunning maneuvers, by setting some fire to the hillside, and then using a cow as a distraction, we steal their special item, this shake stick. It is a special item that is able to mine precious stone out of ordinary rock. We're not going to use it for that, we're going to sell it. But in order to sell it, we need to get it identified first, and we need some money up front. So we go over here to where there are some shiny stones, and we're just going to collect some shiny stones. Your currency in this game is shiny things, which are not very useful on their own, but they represent the cold, hard cash for dragons. So now that we have a few shiny things up front for the identification, we're going to go back to Darktooth and say certain things to him in a certain order. First, we're going to say that we have an interesting object, the shake stick. And then we say, would you like to trade? He says, trade? Dude, you're 5 days old. You think you have something to trade with me? And I say, yes, the shake stick. So he gives us 100 shiny things for the shake stick, which is a quite enormous amount of money. And we then talk to him about his normal topics, which do take a little bit of money each, but they do give us stats in return, so it's an extremely fast way to gain some very easy stats. And then one more interesting object, the Crystal Fang, as we are using that later, and then we leave. We'll see Darktooth again a couple more times. Okay, now that we have a lot of stats and a lot of money, we are going to go to a friendly water spirit, where he is going to ask us 3 riddles. And when we get the 3 riddles correct, it gives us a lot of water points, as well as an item called the Obstinate Stone, which we will be using very shortly. So the first riddle that this friendly water spirit asks is, I came to an obstacle. What did I do? And we say you went around this obstacle, because water always flows around things. It always takes the path of least resistance. We go out the second day, and his second riddle is, there was once a dragon who wanted to destroy me. How may I be destroyed? And we say, it is a trick question. Water cannot be destroyed. No matter what you do to water, it will always stay as water in some form. For example, if you boiled it, it would simply turn into water vapor, and eventually fall back as rain or recondense or whatever. We go out the next day and we find that there is a deer out here that has died under mysterious circumstances, and we eat the deer because dragon. Even though that's a pretty bad idea because the deer did die of disease, so by eating it we are going to get a pretty major stomachache in a couple of days. The third riddle is, I am inside of you. What do you call the water inside of you? And we say you are the red essence, which is the dragon term for blood. So now we are water level 3, which unlocks the combat ability Pacify. And we also got the obstinate stone, which is essentially a diamond. We're going to uncover this fog, and the next day we realize that we probably should not have eaten that deer. We have become ill. Illness reduces all of your stats temporarily by 50%, makes you pretty useless in combat. We are just going to have to rest and wait for it to wear off. It's a good time to mention that this jade statue down here represents your health in general. Now, you only actually lose health through combat damage and certain other events, but while the jade statue is glowing yellow, that does represent that you are ill, so we just need to rest and wait for that statue to stop glowing yellow. Now, if you are playing this casually and you find yourself ill, you can still go out and about and do other things that do not test your stats. You can go uncover fog, you can do other events. But for the speedrun, we just want to rest a few days to get rid of that real quickly, and then we go over here to this event where an old badger is probably not far from death of old age, but he does not want that. He wants to die in glorious battle, and battle with a dragon would definitely suffice. So we're going to totally cheese him by using Pacify, and then Power Strike 3 times. And that beats him really easily, 100% of the time. I'll explain how the combat works in just a moment, but what's going on here is that the badger, if you have ever seen the movie Dragonheart, you know that valiant souls always go to live in the stars. So that badger is chilling out in the stars now, and he gives us an item called the Bloodstone, as well as this achievement, Strength. And also for doing that, we get complete badger mastery, and whenever you get full mastery of an animal, you get a neat little poem. So that's nice. So the combat in this game is a sort of simultaneous turn-based, based on the elements. You select an element and then an attack from that element, and then it clashes against whatever your opponent chose in secret. And it follows the usual elemental trio of fire beats air beats water, and water beats fire. Earth sort of stands alone, but it doesn't have any powerful attacks, so it's sort of a basic attack or basic defense. So the badger always opens up with a fire move, and when you use Pacify, it will reduce its attack power and disable its fire moves, so from that point onward, it will only use air moves. And you can manipulate its AI and always win that 100% of the time just by starting with Pacify. This is a rat named Never Ever. He is the envoy of the mighty Drac Elder, many times burned. We're going to see him once more in the future. So this is a maze. There's a couple of side paths. We are just looking to make it to the end as quickly as possible. There are random encounters down here. This is a rat with a grenade. We can one-shot it, and then it gives us a grenade that we are forced to pick up. And watch this little animation. By the way, this is a sort of open-world RPG, so what I'm doing is I'm clicking on the icons on the map that represent different side quests and different points of interest. I can visit any of them in any order, or choose not to visit them at all. This rat pack can be defeated very easily with 2 Swift Strikes. Does not hurt me at all. Now, it's fairly typical to get 2 random encounters down here. On very rare occasions, I've gotten 1, which is slightly faster. I've never gotten 3. That would be pretty slow. And probably pretty unlucky. So you hope for 1, but 2 is pretty typical. Okay, so we come to this tunnel with these horrible maim death kill blades, but by dropping down the obstinate stone, it causes the blades to stop spinning, and we can climb down very safely. And meet these fire salamanders who say, hey, we'll give you this fancy gas mask if you enkindle us. And I say, sure, no problem, I know exactly what enkindling is. And they say, you're lying, we're gonna fight you instead. So this is a little tricky. 1 second here. Okay, there's 6 different attacks that they can start with, and all animals follow a set pattern, but their first move in that pattern is random. So there's 6 different attacks that I have to account for. If I make the right responses, I can win on 5 out of 6 of those. There is one attack that if they use that, then I have to exit out to the main menu and come back because the save game does not automatically save in the middle of battle. So there's 3 different outcomes to that. One is that you can win in 2 attacks. You can also win in 3 attacks, which is what happened there, or have to go back out to the main menu. So that's the only RNG part of it. There's no like random damage range or anything like that. So anyway, we got the gas mask and the associated achievement, so we go up to the Spirit Wood, but we are accosted by this dragon called Twist, who wants to challenge us to a riddle contest. The answers to his riddles are fire, water, earth, and air, which are only told to you time and time again, so he is pretty bad at coming up with riddles. So we commune with the forest and feel that it likes us, and we claim it as our territory, and then we hibernate for 30 years. All pretty normal things. So after 30 years, we wake up from our hibernation as an adolescent dragon. It is now our job to go forth and explore the world. First thing we're going to do is run right over to Darktooth, where he has some more things to talk about for a little bit of free stat boosts. And then he also has for us what he calls the Great Lesson, which in which he talks about the history of dragonkind, and talks to us about different forms of philosophy. So we ask him about the Great Lesson, and we need to pay him 20 shiny things, which we do have. And then we go over here and we meet this bird who asks if we are wise and if we know the great truth. And we say, no, we are not very smart. And he says, correct. So in this maze, there are 7 cave paintings that show different parts of the history of dragonkind. These are cave paintings that Darktooth drew himself with molten gold and silver and copper. Now I will explain what it is these cave paintings are all about. However, they are in a jumbled order as you look at them. And I also, this is a maze, and I don't want to get lost, so I am looking at a guide where I've written down all the directions. At this point, I've probably memorized it. I've been through this so many times. You would think I would know it by heart, but don't want to make any mistakes. The speedrun is going fairly decently so far. That was a fairly average part 1. Three attacks against the salamanders is a little bit Could be worse, could be better. Otherwise, it's pretty consistent. That's the only spot where there's any actual RNG. And I've done a pretty good job clicking on things. So we meet these cave salamanders who want us to recite the history of dragons in the correct order. So in the beginning, there was Earth and Sun. They created dragons. And dragons ruled over everything. And then aliens came and started destroying everything. And dragons fought the space aliens. And space aliens won. And space aliens put down humanoids of different sizes, and then humans took over everything. Did you get all that? Because I'm not repeating it. Okay, so in here we are going to the 4 different schools of philosophy that are run by these different fish. We have to get each one's blessing in order to proceed. So this is the School of Knowledge, where they are obsessed with math problems. So they were going to ask me some random math problems. 1 second here. Boy, I for some reason can't think of 16 times 7 on the fly. Alright, that could have been better. I'd say that was altogether fairly average. It gave me some really tough ones. So that was a little bad, but I am going to press on. Sometimes it just is what it is. That is the biggest RNG of the game. You have to solve these math problems while you're under pressure, while you're thinking about the speedrun. It's pretty terrible. So we come over here to the School of Wealth, where this octopus believes that sand is the solution to all of life's problems. And so we ask for his blessing, and he says, sure, no problem, just bring me a bunch of sand. I'll be happy to give him my blessing. And we don't really want to cart around a bunch of sand, so we just say, how about this? Give me your blessing or I'll kill you. And he says, okay, you can have my blessing. So that is that problem solved. And sometimes you get a random encounter where you are asked a math question. You can actually give any answer. It does not matter. Whether correct or incorrect, the result is exactly the same. So we come over here to the School of Nihilism, where this fish believes that he is a video game character and that nothing he does matters. So in order to get his blessing, we have to not answer his questions. And that's the School of Nihilism. Now, you may notice that our energy is extremely low, and I did not go out and get any food. However, at the next school here, the School of Faith, they will give you food for free. So I'm going to ask him 2 questions, and then I'm going to ask for food 3 times, actually. Now, we only need 2 doses of food in order to reach 100, but this is actually reducing your reputation, which will come in handy a little bit later. It saves some time down the line. And the answers to his questions are the second, first, faith. And that is the School of Faith. So you have a reputation stat, and a survival stat, and a compassion stat going on in the background, and it influences certain things during the ending sequence. By having a slightly lower reputation, by asking for food and lowering my reputation kind of artificially there, it's going to make the ending sequence just slightly faster. Whereas asking for food just takes a couple of seconds. Now, this manta ray would like to know if we would like to follow any one of these singular philosophies forever. And of course we don't want to do that. And we have to give a reason why each time. Just select the top option, because the top option is the fastest. And then we come back to Darktooth, who is looking very relaxed. He is very happy that we completed his great lesson. So we say, that's nice, goodbye. And he gives us the silver rod, as well as this achievement, the Hierophant. Hierophant is actually the next game being made by Dreaming Door Studios. They really, really like that word. Okay, now that we are well fed, and we are out of the Great Lesson, we are going to run over and start uncovering a little bit of fog here. There's a couple of things that we need to do, more than a couple really, in part 2. We have several achievements that we need to get, and we need to get them all in one go here, because we are going to restart the game a couple of times. But we are going to restart at part 3. We are not coming back to part 1 or part 2. So we need to get everything done. And the first thing that we're going to start doing, partway, is making friends with the wolves. So there are some wolves hanging out. You might have seen a couple of icons of a howling wolf. Also, some bats invade our cave. We are actually going to talk with them and then offer to share the cave. So we are making friends with the bats, and now we have bat friends. And they will come in handy a little bit later. But we're going over to this howling wolf event, where there is a wolf den with a guardian standing in front of the wolf den. We are going to challenge this guardian to honorable combat. And just attack it with Power Strike, because Power Strike is overpowered. So, good deal. So, it runs away, and we let it go. And there's some wolf pups inside, and we talk with them, and then leave them. So, by beating up that wolf in the front, and scaring these wolf pups half to death, and then leaving, we are helping to make friends with the wolves. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go with that. We're going to go to this other wolf event where some wolves are having a feast. And we don't really want to bother them, so we just say bye. And they say, why are you leaving? And I say, I'm leaving because I don't care. And they accept that I don't care. This is helping to make friends with the wolves. Okay, we're going to go down here because we're going to get all of our shiny things stolen in a few days here. But we need to have some shiny things in order to challenge one of our fellow dragons, named Tempest, to a riddle contest. We need to barter some shiny things as a loss condition for the riddle. We're going to win it, of course, but you still have to have the shiny things on hand. So we come over to the border of Tempest's territory, and we say hi, and Tempest says hi, and we ask for a prize of treasure, and we say yes, and the answer to this riddle is dawn. And Tempest says, what? How could you get that right? That riddle was impossible. And he gives us the Bezoar Stone, which will come in handy much later. Okay, we are also going to use the Crystal Fang now. The Crystal Fang is a memory crystal that holds some ancestral memories of our birther creator. So it gives us 8 to each stat. It's sort of a Disc 1 nuke for this game. Gives you a massive amount of stats early on. Okay, the next order of business is to go and see the Space Elves. So there are some Space Elves over here, having a good time, and we interact with them and let them touch me. I zoom in a sort of How to Train Your Dragon sense, like Hiccup slowly reaching out his arm, and then Toothless slowly moves his snout into Hiccup's outstretched hand. That's how I imagine it. Just uncovering a little more fog here. Now our energy is getting a little bit low, so we're going to uncover one more bit of fog and then go deal with the energy. Now in past speedruns I would use this event where there's this goat trapped under a rock and we free the goat and immediately eat it because dragon. Well, I've decided that we really don't want to actually eat things to restore energy. The much better way is to go take a bath in a hot spring. So that's what we're doing now. I'm going to go over to this hot spring. And we lower ourselves into the pool. And we just sit there and relax. And we get some energy. And all is good. Okay, and then we go to the other Space Elf event where some Space Elves are posing as trees. So we breathe some fire on the trees because dragon. And it uncovers this logic test where the answer is left, left, right, right, left, left, right, left, middle. And for solving the logic test, we get the silver fruit, which is a completely useless item. But more importantly, it attracts the attention of the Space Elves. So this Space Elf dragon comes over and would like to do a certain something with me that I do not think I can talk about. But we say, I need to know what you really are. And it's a hologram for space aliens, of course. You have some space aliens in my dragon game, thank you. And we say, okay, look, you can do what you want, but I need information about animals. So it gives us all of this animal knowledge. 50% knowledge of each animal is what is represented by all of these icons flying over to the left side of the screen. And that is important because we need 50% knowledge of wolves in order to make friends with the wolves. I also like how they just keep flying over no matter what you're doing. You can come over to the map and they're just going, man. They do not care. So we go over to the last wolf event where this lone wolf is striking out on its own, and I say, that's nice, I'm leaving. And that's the lone wolf event. So the wolves approach us and say, it's really weird what you're doing. You keep coming close and leaving and we don't understand. And I say, I just love wolves. Let's be friends. And they say, okay, we can be friends, but we have to fight first. So we're making friends with the wolves by fighting with them. And that's a one-shot. Very lucky. And so now dragons and wolves are friends. And it gives us the wolf clan, the spirit claw clan, as an item, which will come in handy a little bit later, as well as its achievement, the moon. Okay, next thing we're going to do is go over and see the spirit of the Great Green. It has some tests for us that are just some simple stat checks. So we are going over to follow the white rabbit, as you do. And then there is an animal that we would like to eat, but we have to have the mental fortitude to ignore it and move on. And there is a large stone that we throw aside with our great strength. And then there is a jackalope who asks us a riddle. It is not a riddle that I select or type in. It is simply an air stat check. So we come over here and we see the spirit of the Great Green, and it says hi. We are best friends now. It is very happy that I completed its tests. And so it gives us a little bit of a stat boost as well as this achievement. That I always forget what it is. Empress? Oh, High Priestess. I always get those two mixed up. Well, whatever. It's an achievement. It's good. Now our energy is a bit low. Am I able to consume self at this point? It's important. Okay, good. So now that we've reached fire 60, we have the ability to consume self. So not only are we not reliant on hunting grounds, which is the normal source of food, we are no longer reliant on events. So we can just gain some energy at the cost of a little bit of self-damage. Actually quite a significant amount of self-damage. It's about like 60% of your health. So this rat steals our shiny things. It gives us a side quest to go hunt some snakes. We agree to perform this side quest. We're not going to hunt any snakes. That takes way too long. But by agreeing, it is the top option and doesn't have any other stat gains or anything like that. So that is the way to go. We are going to go over here to this fire icon, which represents a true dream or a premonition of the future about this fiery dragon fighting this deer in the sky. And we vow to hold on to the dream and discover its meaning. This represents a forest fire that will happen in the future if we are not able to solve it. Luckily, we can go solve it right away. To where this saber-toothed tiger spirit has possessed this guy, and he is over here causing some trouble. He is killing deer. He is killing other things. He is just kind of angry in general and does not know how to deal with his feelings. So we are able to go on what it calls an essence quest to go commune with the spirit of the green and perform what is essentially a dragon exorcism. To destroy this evil spirit, and then we eat the guy because dragon. And that is the problem solved. So the problem with the forest fire is that only deer are able to prevent forest fires, and they were being stopped by that guy. So now the deer come back, but they don't know if they like me or not. So we have to treat them as sovereigns, and bow before them, and select the correct options. Otherwise they do get offended and leave forever, and you are denied this achievement. Which would be bad. That would be a run killer, because you do need all the achievements. This one's the Empress. Last one is the High Priestess. Okay, I do believe that is all the mandatory stuff that I have to do. The next item of importance is dealing with our 3 Drac rivals that are trying to invade our territory. So the first one is going to be Flare. He is sort of an angry bully type who says, I am very strong with fire element, so you should just run away now, or I will burn you to a crisp. But what we do is we remain calm, and calmly burn down a tree, because dragon. And Flare is just having none of that. He runs for the hills. He is out of here. My tree burning power is much more powerful than his. And that's Flare. The next Drac Invader is going to be Bloom. Bloom arrives with a bunch of animal friends. Now, in the any percent speedrun, we use our air stat to shake the belief of Bloom's animal friends, so Bloom ends up fighting us alone, and Bloom is not very difficult in combat because it is so reliant on its animal friends. Ordinarily, if you're not able to do that, you would have to fight Bloom and 2 animals in a successive 3 battles, which is extremely hard. It has caused the death of many a newbie. Very, very difficult battle if you don't know what you're doing, but we are speedrunning here, and I do go for consistency. So we want to avoid doing that. Actually, our wolves are the key to defeating Bloom. We challenged Bloom to a contest of song, and as you may expect, wolves are regarded as much better singers than Bloom's random barnyard collection. So we are able to win without even going into combat. The 3 dragon invaders do have tells in combat, so if you are able to actually get into battle with them on relatively square footing, you are able to defeat them pretty easily by winning the elemental rock, paper, scissors. But the main trouble is what they bring before the battle actually starts, that Bloom has you fight 2 other animals. He also has a chicken on his head. Okay, so we call in our wolves, and we have a contest of song, and Bloom just dies of embarrassment right then and there. He just drops dead of shame. It's pretty amazing. And that's Bloom. Now, our 3rd Drac Invader is named Whisper. He is an albino and kind of a sneaky, stealthy type who is skulking in the shadows and tries to mess with your head. Now, there's a few ways to deal with it, actually. The most common way, I would say, is to use one of your water skills called... well, first you can use Camouflage to sort of even the score, even the stakes. There's a couple of other things, too. There's an item called the Lodestone that you can use to track him down, and so on. In the any percent run, we actually get our water up really high, and unlock the water ability Intuition, which instantly turns the tables and gives you a sneak attack on Whisper. But what else you can do is use your bat friends. You can call in your bat friends for help, and their echolocation is well useful against somebody who's trying to sneak around and stay in the shadows. Bats are not stymied by the dark, so it also allows us to get a sneak attack on Whisper within the dialogue, so we can defeat Whisper without even getting into a fight. It is reliant on your fire stat check. If your fire stat is low, then it is not an instantly killing strike. Although, of course, if you go into combat having gotten the sneak attack and Whisper is already badly injured, that's pretty good too. So here is Whisper, and we call in our bat friends. And that is Whisper. Has a good sneak attack. So Whisper runs on out of here, and that is our 3rd Drac Invader, and there is nothing else to do in part 2 other than rest. Now, I'd like to take a moment here. Normally I'm not quite sure what to talk about, but it's occurred to me over the past few days as I've been trying to speedrun this and continually make mistakes, run ending mistakes, and I have to abandon the entire thing. In a marathon setting, I would have backup saves and so on and so forth, but when I'm making a submission video, it's a little bit different. I want to make sure it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, right? But I do want it to be pretty good. It may look like all I'm doing is just clicking on stuff in the middle of the screen and clicking on text, and you say, oh, that's not very hard. You know, I could do that. That doesn't require special tech. This isn't, you know, demon souls, where the slightest mistake could get you clobbered by a giant monster with a giant club. Well, no, but if I click on the wrong thing at the wrong time, it can just instantly kill my run right then and there. It's a huge amount of stuff that I have to click on in the right order. So anyway, what's going on here is the bats are leaving because the weather is getting colder, and the wolves are going to stick around actually, but they are a little sad that we are going to hibernate for another 30 years. And then while we are hibernating, Darktooth comes to us in a dream, and he is still very happy that we completed his great lesson. And the Spirit of the Great Green comes to us in a dream, and is still very happy that we passed its tests, and it gives us another achievement for preventing the forest fire, even though we got an achievement for bringing back the deer. And we emerge from our hibernation, and we are a big, beautiful dragon. Best scene of the game. We must embrace the wind, but thou must. I don't want to embrace the wind. So we go for our first flight, and everything is awesome. And then Darktooth comes over and is just a complete killjoy. He says, hey, while you were hibernating, these human things have become a little bit more of a problem. So in about 20 days, all of Dragonkind is going to meet in 20 days. Prepare yourself, then attend. And we say, okay, time to sleep for 20 days. There is nothing I need to do in part 3 at this juncture, because there are 3 main endings to this game, and we have already qualified for the Wisdom ending. Simply by passing Darktooth's great lesson, we are able to follow the path of wisdom and follow Darktooth, and everything will be fine. Now, the main issue that the dragons are facing at this point is that humans are becoming more... They're growing to greater numbers, greater technological strength. There's more and more clashes between dragons and humans, and more often, it's the dragons getting the worst end of the deal. That this is completely unsustainable, more and more dragons are dying, and something has to be done about it. All of Dragonkind has to get together and come up with some kind of solution. So the problem is that humans are killing too many dragons. What are the dragons going to do? And Darktooth says, well, look, we've decided that no matter what we do here on Earth, dragons here are doomed to become extinct. We've seen the future as it is in 2019 when this game was made, or 2020 as I'm recording this, and there are no more dragons, and that's bad news for us. But here's what I propose. Let's leave Earth. We can build a spaceship. I know of another habitable planet out there in the stars, and we will just leave. We will take the best and brightest of Dragonkind and just leave. And that's my plan. And we will no longer exist on Earth, okay, but dragons will continue existing and living and surviving elsewhere. And if you haven't completed the Great Lesson, there's a couple of other ways to get into his ending. You can offer him a large amount of shiny things. You can give him the elixir, which is another major quest item that we will be getting later. It would be way too hard right now. Or you can give him the awakened silver rod. We have the ordinary silver rod. Now, the silver fruit reveals its true nature as... and we have been abducted by space aliens, so the space aliens show us this very realistic deer, and very realistic human, and very realistic dragon, and we get to respond in certain ways. I respond as though I am a sentient creature, which interests the aliens very much, and they keep me for 4 days and perform approximately 150 tests on me. And that's good, because we want to pass time. We want to make it to the Grand Moot as fast as possible. And even though it reduces our energy to very low, I can just consume self. Now, the next mandatory event is a sunfly that comes over and asks the meaning of life, a mayfly, and we tell it wisdom. In future iterations of this event, we want to eat the mayfly, because dragon, but by telling it wisdom, it does not increase our reputation, it does not increase our survival score, and so it doesn't... For one thing, it doesn't cause Many Times Burned to come to us in a dream and invite us to his trial, so that takes time. And we also want Many Times Burned to think very poorly of us, as we are going to tell him we want to follow Darktooth and leave Earth. If Many Times Burned likes you too much, if you've done too many things that increase your favor with him, then he says, no, you've got to stay. And it turns into this giant speech. Darktooth saves your life. It's okay. Like, Darktooth likes you enough, he's willing to put his neck on the line to save you. But it's better if MTB just says, whatever, you can leave. I don't care. Goodbye. It saves, I would say altogether, 10 seconds. So for making it from our egg to the Grand Moot, we get this achievement, the Chariot. Very important. So all the dragons are over here, and the 3 main elders speak. I didn't mention Allmother on the right there, and many times burned in the center. We will talk about that later. I say wisdom, and I say yes, and Darktooth is so happy to have me along on the journey, and MTB is like, good, get out of here. That saves so much time. I was not actually doing that before. I didn't realize that it was so easy. I mean, I knew that MTB could do it. I knew that MTB, like, could say that. But I didn't realize that it was speedrun viable. I actually found it out by accident how close it was. So, making mistakes can sometimes lead to shaving off like 10-15 seconds from a speedrun. Okay, so we are next going to do the compassion ending. For that we need 50 fire, so 1 second. So that's 50 fire, and then max out water. Another change from previous speedruns here is that normally we would go over and get the Living Labyrinth. We don't actually need that. All we need is the Crystal Fang. The Living Labyrinth increases your water score, and it costs a day, and you can use it as many times as you want. But really all we need is the Crystal Fang to increase all of our stats by 10. So that's going to get us up to Fire 60, which allows us to consume Self, because we're starting with Fire 50. And it also gives us some water score, which we need in order to complete the compassion ending. So we're going to do some things pretty fast here. We're going to use the Crystal Fang to give us some stats. And when your water score reaches a certain threshold, I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's like 70 or 80 or so. Probably 70. Allmother comes to you in a vision and invites you to her trial. So we are going to do that. I would also like to just consume Self before I go. So that's good. Now, okay, so we come over here and we meet Allmother's envoy, Writhing Question, who is quite the silver fox. And so, Writhing Question administers this trial where Allmother would like for us to live life as an ant. Now, up to this point, we've been living life as a dragon. We are giant and solitary and rule over land, and we eat anything we want, and we do anything we want, and ants are pretty much the complete opposite. So, we need to move eggs to safety, otherwise this sequence will not end. So we meet the queen, and we go over here, and we need to get food, water, and aphids for the hive. And we follow these little trails. This is another maze. It's a pretty easy one if you know where you're going. And you do get random encounters sometimes. I typically get 2 random encounters. You have a sporting chance to get 1 random encounter. There are some boss fights of a certain degree. So over here is a death pit, or an ant lion as we would know it. So we have to identify it as a death pit by throwing in one of our own legs. So we're going to fight the death pit by bringing some friends. So now we are ants fighting an ant lion. This is all perfectly normal. So we come over here to this water and we drink some water. And then we leave. And as long as you go for the water or for the aphids, you do get instantly sent back to the hive. If you go for the food in the middle path, it does not teleport you for some reason. So doing water, aphids, and then food is slightly faster than the other viable option of aphids, water, and food. You do not want to do food first or second. So this is a random encounter. Fighting a ladybug is fine. What you don't want to see is the caterpillar. The caterpillar has more health and will hurt you. It's not a huge deal, but it does cost you a few seconds speedrun-wise. So we go up, and I believe it's the second opportunity to turn left. Yeah. So there's other side paths. A lot of stuff that'll mostly just kill you instantly. Like you can run into a spider, and you just die. But as long as you've done this a few times before, once or twice, it's all quite consistent. Really just a matter of if you run into a caterpillar, then it slows you down a little bit, but you aren't in any danger of actually dying. So Writing Question tells us a little story about how Allmother got her philosophy of compassion, which is very unusual for dragons. Basically, she ran into this rabbit and this fox, and the fox wanted to eat the rabbit, but Allmother said, I don't like it when carnivores eat things. That makes me sad. So you can eat a little bit of me instead, and I'll keep living, and the rabbit will keep living, and everybody can stay alive and be happy. It's pretty close to how the story goes. So here's this dead jerkbird and a mantis who is making this sharp sword on sword, metal on metal sound, which I think is absolutely amazing. So we gather a bunch of friends and use Power Strike, because Power Strike is overpowered, and easily beat that mantis, no problem. So we've gotten the food, and all of a sudden a giant squirrel starts attacking us. So we have to fight the giant squirrel. Now, this is a sort of reverse boss battle. I mean, a reverse hopeless boss battle. So you know sometimes in RPGs, you have to lose to a certain boss. They're like, ah ha ha, you're not worth my time. I beat you so easily. Well, here the squirrel cannot win, because if we die, then we just revive on the spot. Now this could go either way. I don't know if that was a death or if we won. Nope, it was a death. Okay, that is a pretty much straight down the middle typical result, dying twice and then immediately winning. I have won with just one death before. I'm not exactly sure what causes that. I guess it's just whichever move the squirrel starts on. So we meet Allmother, and she talks a little bit more about her philosophy, that she sees all life as being equal, whether ant or dragon or human or fox or rabbit. It is all equal to her. So, as you may remember, the general problem that we are facing, that dragonkind is facing, is that humans are killing more and more dragons, and this is completely unsustainable. Well, Allmother's plan is that she says, look, I'm not willing to fight back against the humans, and I'm also not willing to do what Darktooth is suggesting and abandon Earth. I love Earth. I love this place. I want to see Earth survive above all. So here's my proposal. Let's sacrifice ourselves and place our dragon souls into humanity and guide them from within to peace and prosperity and harmony with Earth. That the time of dragons is simply over, so what does it matter what we look like? We are dragons in soul, so we'll still keep being dragons, and we'll protect Earth. So everybody kind of wins. We just won't look the same. And many times Burned just thinks that's outright insane. He sees it as surrender. He says, look, you're just saying you want to give up. That doesn't make any sense. And Darktooth isn't completely against it, but he says that what Allmother is suggesting has been tested before in the past and is extremely difficult to do. That, yes, maybe a paragon like Allmother can pull it off, but she's suggesting that all other dragons do it, and it runs the very real risk of just dying for nothing, to have your dragon soul go off into the ether, and that will be that. But she is very adamant about this. She says, look, I'm not willing to kill, and I'm not willing to leave, so there is no other way to reconcile my feelings about this matter. This is what I have to do, and anybody who also agrees is welcome to follow me, but I don't really care what you two guys think. So, there are two parts to following the compassion ending yourself. The first is that you need to have enough favor with Allmother for her to even accept you. If your favor is low, then she just says, no, sorry, I don't think you are compassionate enough. I can't let you follow this path. But by completing the trial in this life, we have very high favor with All Mother, so that works out. And then you need to meet one of 3 conditions. You need to either have 100 water points, which we do have, or have a lot of compassion points, which takes a lot of work to get. You have to go pretty much do all of the compassion actions throughout part 2 and 3. There's a lot of them, so that's not really very good for a speedrun. Or have a lot of human knowledge, which we could probably do for a speedrun if the water path was not available. But I would say it would easily take like 2 or 3 extra minutes. I have a good idea about how you do it, but the water path is so much easier because we can just start with a bunch of water and then use the Crystal Fang. And that is that. So we come over here to the Grand Moot. And we are going to choose the Path of Compassion. Yes. And MTB is just absolutely outraged and orders us executed on the spot, so we die. But our soul is okay. So we do this water check. And now we are humans in the modern world. The end. Okay, one important thing to note here about this tarot card is down in the bottom, it's going to say it slows your energy loss. This reduces energy lost by the passage of time. It is actually bugged and has the unintended side effect of not allowing you to die of starvation. So not only are we not reliant on hunting grounds, and not only are we not reliant on events, we are no longer even reliant on consumed self. We don't have to worry about our energy at all from this point because of that bug. It doesn't really save us a lot of time, like a few seconds, I suppose. Maybe like 10 to 15 seconds overall. But you will not see me click on Consume Self again. Now we need the Crystal Fang and the Bloodstone, and that's all. Okay, so the next ending we are going to do is the Survival ending. Many times burns Path of Survival, and all we need is a bunch of fire and earth, because fire represents your strength and earth represents your durability, and MTB's trial involves a lot of combat. So we are going to use the Crystal Fang, and that passes a day. And then we're going to use the Bloodstone. The Bloodstone does not pass a day, but for the remainder of that day, it gives you a huge boost to fire, as well as a flat bonus to the damage that you do. So it makes us pretty much incredibly strong, and our high earth means we are already very durable. We are pretty much the best you could possibly be at combat, short of having the ability that just insta-kills anything. We're not quite high enough for that. Also, it takes a lot of energy to use, and we're very low on energy. Might not be able to starve to death, but you can't use special moves. Okay, so Many Times Burns Trial is a gauntlet of combats. So first we are fighting against this snake who would like to become a dragon. I don't think he's going to achieve his goal because actually half of his combat moves are bugged, and he always goes down to 1 power strike. Now, in a prior iteration of this speedrun, we would fight these opponents twice and eat them because dragon. Nowadays, we're going to just pass them by after fighting them once because dragon. If you've ever played the game Choice of the Dragon, you might remember that one of your stats is Disdain, which is your stat about not caring about things. So we are practicing our disdain here. So we're going to pass these jerkbirds by because dragon. And then we fight this bear named Agony, who is just in a lot of pain. And I don't really know why he's here, he's just in pain. So we beat him up and pass him by because dragon. And our next opponent is this Neanderthal guy named Last. He is the last of his people because the humans killed all of the other Neanderthals. So he would like MTB to repopulate his people. And we are just going to pass him by because dragon. And the last opponent is not Many Times Burned, but rather it is his envoy, Never Ever. and never ever messes with your combat interface for some reason. I don't know why this is, but we still defeat him with 2 power strikes. And MTB says stop, and he talks about what he's seen in the future, where everything is kind of polluted, and we're facing problems of like global warming and stuff, and there are no more dragons, and he is pretty sad about that. So, if you haven't guessed by this point, Many Times Burned's plan is just to kill all humans now before they become any more of a problem than they already are. Now, all 3 of the elders have foreseen the future as we know it. 2019, 2020, there are no more dragons to be seen, and humans have taken over everything. And they accept to a certain degree that this is a foregone conclusion. Darktooth sees it as a foregone conclusion, so he's like, I'm getting out of here. Allmother sees it as a foregone conclusion, so she says, well, let's survive in soul, at least. Like, let's kind of trick the prophecy. They're trying to cheat the prophecy, essentially. Many Times Burned is... It's easy to see Many Times Burned as a sort of evil figure who's like, let's just kill everything. But he's the only one willing to defy fate. He's the only one willing to say, look, I am not going to just lie down and accept that it's the fate of dragons to die out and disappear. I am going to fight back. So here's what I propose. Up to this point, battles with humans have been kind of one-off. That's always one dragon against a band of humans, and that always ends poorly for the dragon. So here's what I propose. Let's all band together as one single unstoppable force and just make it our life's goal to wipe out every single human that we see. Total war, non-stop, single-minded. This is what we're going to do. And I believe, I have hope, that we can change this fate, that we can change our destiny if we take this extreme path. So, he's not really like evil or homicidal or xenocidal, as the case may be, in that sense. I mean, yes, that is what he's proposing, but he's really fighting to change this destiny that they've all foreseen. He's the only one willing to make a stand and say, I do not accept that this is a foregone conclusion. And I think that's something to appreciate. And I think all 3 of the elders kind of have their own point, that Darktooth is saying, well, if dragons are going to be extinct on Earth, let's not be on Earth. And Allmother is sticking to her convictions of not killing. And I can appreciate that MTB is sticking to his convictions of screw fate. No fate but what we make, right? So all 3 of the elders have a point, and all 3 of the elders kind of think that the other elders are just a little bit crazy. And that is okay. Now, what MTB needs to do during his ending is you go over to this village, and you have 4 choices. 1, you can participate in a gauntlet of fights against several human opponents, and the second option is to use an antimatter grenade, and the third option is to use the Darkspine, which is a gift that MTB can give you. It's also really great that this single village is the difference between extinction of dragons and extinction of humans. So by destroying this village, everything's going to be okay. And the 4th choice, which we do use, is to use the True Song of Destruction, which you learn by reaching 100 fire, which we did manage to do. I know it might not have looked like it, but we did reach 100 fire. So we instantly destroy the village, and everything is okay. And that is the survival ending. So we have completed the 3 main endings at this point. So now we are going to wrap up our final achievements and do the secret ending. So we need a little bit of everything. I go between the different elements because every time you reach a milestone of 10, as you're adding to these, you see there's this little animation, there's this little flash, and you can't add any points while that flash is going on. so it is slightly faster to rotate through them. Now, once we run almost out of points here, we're going to subtract 1 from fire, add 1 to water, and then rest into earth. And then we need the Shake Stick, False Face, Crystal Fang, Amber Circle, Bezoar. Okay, good. We are on track here. Okay, there is a lot of stuff to do, a lot of achievements left to get, so the action is pretty fast from this point onward. No more just sitting around passing days for no reason. First of all, we are going to use the Crystal Fang, because this does give us 10 to each stat. We need to reach 100 in each stat as a prerequisite to see the secret ending. The 2 main prerequisites are to get 100 in each stat and get 20 achievements. You also need to know the 3 sacred numbers, but you don't need to actually like find those. If you have them memorized or written down, then you are fine. If you're blind playing this for the first time, then yeah, you need to go track those down. So we go over to this house and we see some doggos standing guard. We just pass them by because dragon. That may not seem like it did very much, but it unlocked a couple more areas to explore. So we're going to go over to some sheep, and we have to answer no to their question, or else this run is over. No. Okay. Boy, I have messed that up before in the past, and I am just paranoid about it. Okay, and then we ask them the 3rd thing in line. That will give us what we need. This may not seem like it has a whole lot of point, but we are mainly gaining some human knowledge. We need to have a certain amount of human knowledge in order to enter a building and get an achievement a little bit down the line. So we are just knocking this out. We go over to this burial scene where some humans are engaging in a little funeral, and we say, that's nice, I'm leaving. And that's the burial scene. Of course, in any of these, you can like bust in and start killing things and stealing treasure and causing havoc, but we don't need to do any of that. Okay, we are going down here to Tempest's territory. We are now old enough to challenge Tempest for some of his lands, so we announce our challenge publicly, and Tempest tackles us in midair, and we knock Tempest away using Power Strike, because Power Strike is overpowered. And we land in the water, which disables your fire breath attacks. You can't breathe fire underwater, but you can still use fire attacks in general, such as Power Strike. So Tempest always opens with 2 air attacks, which is weak against fire, so Power Strike seals the deal. And then we sing a song of pure desire for the land, and Tempest realizes that we really, really, really want this land. And he says, fine, you can have it. And have this tarot card, too. I don't care about it. Okay, so that gave an achievement as well as unlocked a hut where somebody very important lives. We will go see that later. Next, we are going to our other Drac neighbor named Vantage. He is a red dragon who lives underground. We did not see him yet, but we are going to see him now by conquering some of his land. Now, he doesn't meet us directly. He is hiding, and he has set a number of traps for us. So we head underground, and we find it's very dark. We can't see anything, so we find this outline of a skeleton, and there is a crystal here, and we take it, even though it will explode. It is slightly faster to take it. And there are apparently some dwarves who promise us a treasure if we promise to kill Vantage, so they give us this spheroid, even though that's a bad idea because it will explode. It is slightly faster. And then we select the red options in this maze here, because Vantage is a red dragon, if you were paying attention. And we see some dead animals, which are definitely not diseased. So Vantage says, ha ha ha, those things, they explode. And we say, aha, what a surprise. So Vantage always starts with the same moves, so just by doing Power Strike, we can always win. Even though we do get hurt quite a bit, we got knocked down to injured state which I believe is the 20 to 40% health left. And he's a little bit sad that he lost, even though he set these traps for us. So he wants us to judge him based on whether it was right for a dragon to use traps instead of fighting directly like he's supposed to. So it's a nice little choose your own adventure moment. You can say whether he was right or not. I think it's pretty well done. Okay, so that unlocked a Dwarven trading post. So we're going to go over to the dwarves, and we're going to sell them the shake stick and the false face that are Dwarven items, so they're very happy to see those back. We actually are going to choose the false face first, even though it's the third option, and seems to violate our rule to select topmost options. The reason is the false face is worth more, so it takes more time for the shiny things to go over to the right side of the screen. So it all works out in the end. So now we are very wealthy, and we go over to this hut where a man lives. His name is the Artist. You got to look inside. Do not misclick there. I've misclicked there before. And there is a cat and a bird up in the corner. And we say, that's nice, I'm leaving. I'm looking for an artist. If there's no artist here, then I will be back later. So we go back the next day. And the artist is here, and we show him the amber circle. And he says, I remember you. You were so young, and I was so young. And now you're beautiful, and I'm all old. So it seems to be the implication that he is that child that we ate alive and stole his necklace. Of course, we have restarted a couple of times, but he's still here, even if you're on a continuous life and you eat that child alive. I don't really understand, but I still love this game anyway, even when it's logically inconsistent. It would be pretty mean if he didn't appear just because you made that one choice, because this guy is pretty important. So what he says to us is he says, I'm working on a special treasure that I want to benefit all creatures on Earth. He is making the elixir, but he says, I need some help. I am lacking some special stones to complete my work. And these stones are sort of hidden, spread throughout the game. One of them is the Bezoar, which we were able to get from Tempest in Part 2, and then inherit by restarting at Part 3. We were not able to find the other two stones, but that's okay. He accepts 150 shiny things for each stone that is missing. So we have now delivered the Bezoar, as well as 300 shiny things to account for the two missing stones. So we go back to him the next day, and he says, I'm almost done, but I tell you what, I would like to be friends with a dragon. Will you be friends with me? And we say yes, because that's the nice thing to do. Humans and dragons should be friends. Much better than that whole dragon slaying thing. More importantly, by saying yes, we get more human knowledge compared to saying no. So we need that human knowledge, as I said, to enter a certain building in just a moment here. Now we come back the next day and we see that the artist has been murdered. Very unfortunate, very sad. But he did finish his treasure in time, the elixir. So we get the elixir, and we also stay to honor the artist with a traditional Drac funeral. And by doing so, if you don't stay to honor him, you do not get this achievement, the Magician. So you must do that. That is achievement number 19. We are almost done here. So the building that I have been mentioning... also we need to consume the elixir to get us to 100 in each stat. We're pretty close. But now we are at 100 for all of them. Okay, so the building I was mentioning was just over here. So we are going to visit that. We are almost done. Almost to the secret ending. So we come over here, select the second option to sneak in, and the second option to sneak in. And we come into this room, and there's like a bunch of wood carvings and candles and torches, and we say, oh, that's nice, I'm leaving. And then, suddenly there's a dragon head on the wall. How's it hanging, Warden? This is Warden. It's another one of our dragon neighbors that we did not meet in Part 2. He was unfortunately slain between Parts 2 and 3. And we get our 20th achievement, the Others. Now, since we have met all the criteria, we have 20 achievements, we have 100 in each stat, the Dreaming Door now appears to us. And I will need to enter in the 3 sacred numbers that I will not say out loud, so if you do not want to be spoiled, look away from the screen for a little while. So what's going on here is we've seen the 3 main endings where we follow the 3 different philosophies. Well, this one is the convert to Buddhism and achieve nirvana ending, which may seem kind of weird. It's like, oh, well, we've been a dragon who runs around and hoards treasure and eats things and does whatever we want. Well, this is sort of a rejection of all of that. This is a rejection of what your birther creator was telling you at the very beginning of the game, that there's a lot of foreshadowing spread throughout, that there's a little bit more to the universe and a little bit more to the world than what you are originally told. A lot of foreshadowing statements sprinkled about the game as far as this ending goes. So it's a rejection of originally what you were told to be a dragon, and you achieve nirvana, and everything's good. So speedrunning wise, we are addressed by these 3 spirits, and I just want to mash through this as fast as possible. And even normally, cinematically, one spirit is supposed to like shimmer out, and then the next one shimmers in while this text goes down. That's why it's like going down and going back up. But if you just keep mashing, then it'll keep going. And then this is Ego. He would much rather be an individual rather than achieving nirvana. And I say, I don't want to be an individual anymore. I want to become one with the universe. He's like, okay, whatever. So we get an egg-cracking animation as we are hatching to another layer of reality, and time is coming up in about 10 seconds. And we become one with the world and one with the universe. Time. And nirvana has been achieved. So, that is Golden Treasure, the Great Green, secret ending speedrun with the latest routing as of May 27th, 2020, when this was recorded. I'm not sure if that was quite below 1 hour 15 minutes. We were a little bit slow with the math problems. I would say that was a fairly average result. Those were some really hard problems. If you're really lucky with it, that can shave off another like 10, 15 seconds maybe. But I hope you enjoyed. And if I am submitting this for a speedrun event, I hope you select me. I love this game an enormous amount. I am the only speedrunner for it. I have been working on making the speedruns faster and faster as much as I can. This started out around 1 hour 23 minutes, I think, and I've shaved off 8 minutes just by routing changes. To me, it's pretty crazy. And I know it's a bit of an oddball game, and it seems, as I said, a lot of what I'm doing is just clicking on text options. It is not easy to do this. I just want to impress that upon anybody watching. It is not easy to remember all this and to be so precise, clicking the right things in the right order, because one mistake in so many places can lock you out on an achievement, or lock you out of stats that you need, or lock you out of energy that you need somewhere, and it's just over. You have to restart, or you have to reload from a backup save. In a marathon setting, of course, you'd have backup saves. But a continuous video like this is not easy. I mess up so many times. This takes so many re-recordings. So anyway, I will not keep you any longer. I do hope you enjoyed. See you later. See you next time. Go play this game if you have not already. I'm going to let the credits run, but that is all from me. See you next time.